Welcome to day 7 of the URI guitar build. Come and see us October 23rd through 26th. Although the festival starts on the 19th, there's some great concerts. Come on out and play this guitar. It's just about done. We're at the home stretch. I'll see you over there. Now back to the past. So now that we're back in the past, we're going to start by fitting a channel for the bindings. I do this by taking a 2x4 and hitting it over the joiner so I've got a nice square side. And I'll do a test cut to make sure that my bit hasn't changed positions. And after that, I take it to the guitar and go all the way around in a climbing cut, which is typically reserved for those who are inexperienced with routers, but in this case I want the chips to be pulled away and not pushed into the guitar. It gives a little bit of a cleaner edge. And I guess I should point out that I've already taken away the excess by running a flush trim bit and a smaller bit from the previous video. That way I could scrape the whole sides and make it nice and smooth. The trick with this is to do it in one pass without lifting up as little as possible. And then after that, I use a trammel point for my router so that way I can exactly adjust the depth and the height for the purfling material. And fortunately on the back, I was already set to the right distance. Now, when you're using a trammel point on the back of a guitar, one of the things I really like to do, and am fortunate with, is that I start with one side and then do the other side first, so that way I don't have to go about adjusting. And after the fact, I do like to test fit on the instrument. Not sure what good it does, because if I cut it too deep, it's too deep. Now, once I get to fitting the top and adjusting, this actually takes a fair amount of fiddling about. So when I'm using this, depending on how thick my purfling is, I like to use my thumbnail to fully show how deep it is. And I use my thumbnail and I'll run it over the edge and take a test cut, and if it falls in, then I know it's too deep, and if it bumps over it, it's too shallow, and I'll go back and forth adjusting very minutely. Every time I adjust this, I'm turning just a fraction of a turn, not even, really an appreciable amount. Sometimes when it's really close, just putting pressure onto the screw and then locking it back into place does the job. Did I mention that it does take quite a while? This is sped up a bit, so you can only imagine how long it takes. After doing that, I'll run the router around the perimeter of the guitar as well, creating a slight channel. If you do have to stop to reposition, I do like to try to have all of my chips blow right into my dust shield. That way I'm not getting as much on. And again, double check, make sure that it fits. Not sure why. And then I like to take a little bit of a sandpaper. This is a used piece of 120 that's pretty scuzzy, and just kind of break off the last bits of the friable stuff. I wasn't able to get this part on camera, but I did install it. I used the StewMac 3/4 inch binding tape because it really has a great pull, and at this I like to clamp it into this little jig, which can handle a guitar with a neck on it, and then just use my nasty scraper that many of you have said you'll never touch to wood, because I sharpen it off of the angle grinder, and I'll just scrape off all the excess glue and anything that's over height, just try to make it look smooth. Then I'll do the same for the top and the back. It doesn't take all that long. A little trick is that once you take that orange tape off, give it a few hours, because it does trap a bit of moisture underneath it, and it can leave a lumpy surface. Now, after that, I do like to give it a quick sand with orbital, and at this point I really don't drop much below 220. And then after that, I do like to scrape the sides off because, well, they're pretty nasty as well. As you can see, there's still flecks of tape that are stuck to the side, and a fair amount of glue, and in my case, some newspaper. So I'm just gonna clamp it up, and again, this is a flattened out 2x4 that's put into my bench vise, and just to clamp through the sound hole, which is one of the reasons why I have the tongue on there. It's for positional purposes when I'm working. It's so satisfying to watch that binding material come right off and everything just smooth out. Now, you can work in both directions. It's a very non-directional kind of process. After that, I do like to give it the sides a quick sand just to smooth them up, and this is a fresher piece of 120, and wow, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? So This is for mounting up the necks, so I can attach the neck to the body, use the pin at the top, and then align the center line near the headstock, put my stop so I don't run out the back, and I use a router with a 1/4 inch bit to create this channel. I start in the middle, roll in, pull back, and then put it back to the center and let the bit wind down so that way it doesn't jump. This gives me a very clean channel, and I do try to have my dust hood nearby so it catches most of it. And there you go. Now after that, I have to create a corresponding spot for the biscuit on the body. This takes a little bit of fiddling because I have to get the whole thing lined up to the center as well. You know, you're kind of suspending it with one hand, adjusting, sighting down the middle of that slot to find the center line of your body, which is why I'm very adamant about the center lines. And once I have it set up, and I did draw a little bit of a pencil line on the top so I can see the center line, I put a couple wedges underneath there to hold the guitar into place while trying not to move it as much with my hands. It's a very difficult process, believe it or not, and it does take a bit of time, but it's not terrible. It's less annoying than having to do a Spanish heel. So again, I'll use a clamp and put it against that tongue on the neck block that I like to use. That holds the upper portion of the body in position, and then I'll just make sure it's good and tight because I don't want anything moving. Because I am trying to keep everything in place, I put a couple flip lever clamps on the body to hold that down because, again, this is a really hypercritical portion of the process. If this is off center or in the wrong direction, you're not going to have a really great level of success going forward. So this is really, really critical, why I've got such a complex jig and why I spend so much time on it. Once I have that, I use the same stop, put it up against the back, do the same thing with the router where I roll in, and I was not happy with the amount of dust that was captured the first time, so I repositioned. Just make another slot. It's pretty easy. Goes pretty quick, all things considered, and be glad you aren't hearing the router whine this much. This was a very router heavy day. And always use your ear protection. And that went pretty well. Now this is one of my favorite machines in the entire shop. It's a holdover from a bygone day. Because all of our machines are drilled out at 35 millimeters, I do not like to measure because that really leaves a potential for error. So this is a 3-head drilling machine with a pneumatic hold down, and I line it up to one of the notches in my head, which is a very consistent distance from the tip and very symmetrical just due to the way that I make my necks and headstocks. So just line it up with the tip, hold it down, hit my foot switch, which is powered by air, just let it rip. And you know, it's funny, my dad always would wait until he had the machines in hand to drill it out because sometimes they were 35 millimeters, sometimes they weren't, sometimes they were 36, and sometimes they were weird. So now I'm getting the neck set up into the neck carving machine, which is a Panto router. I have a master on one side, and then everything else goes in. Now I've got several different head angles, so I'll double check to make sure I'm using the right one, and here we go. Putting the clamp onto it. It's kind of difficult to hold it in place, making sure things aren't moving, but right now I want to make sure that the whole neck is held down properly, and I'm using the slot to hold it down at the tail. It's locked in on that pin that I drilled early in the process. I got to make sure that my slot is lined up on both edges, and to save my cameraman and camera from all the dust, I didn't show that process, but you know, here's the end result, and I take a big old heavy cut file to take away all the excess roughness and so on and so forth, and I'll give that a good file, make sure that my heel is nice and refined. Well, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time, and I'll see you at the University of Rhode Island Guitar Festival, and well, fade to black.